All right, so you mentioned education. Can you tell me what your GPA was in high school?
My GPA was 0.98.
0.98.
Yep.
You had less than a 1.
Yeah.
Of it. And then you took that to college, right? Like, I know.
No. I didn't go to college. I went to hustle school. My dad was an entrepreneur, and my dad never learned to read or write. And so he would buy properties, he would start businesses, and he would put me in situations where I would have to do those kinds of things.
Huh.
So, and I never understood maybe it's just my learning modality. I'm very auditory in how I process and retain information. So I had a hard time just sitting still and like looking at something, and there was no purpose to the mission. You know, it was like, figure these things out. I think Elon Musk describes it as why teach somebody the mechanics of a wrench when you can teach them the application by showing them this is how you use a wrench to solve a problem. So I did miss that in school, but I loved to learn. And so after leaving school and then working at a factory as a welder for a number of years, I realized this is not where I'm going to be. Yeah. I need to break out of this. So I started studying and learning and using every creative method possible to accelerate myself and to get upward mobility. Networking with people, using LinkedIn, all the tools that were coming on at the time. Those were big.
But how did you navigate 9th through 12th grade, butting against and being perceived in many ways by your peers and by faculty and whatever as a failure or someone who's really struggling? Oh,
yeah. I was told I'd be a ditch digger and all these other things. My best hope was to work in HVAC or some kind of trade school.
Right.
And so I think it's important for people to know that just because you don't necessarily fit the mold, right, of this cultural conditioning of you go to school, you get good grades, and you go get your job, and then there's still this mindset of you're going to get a pension or something.
Yeah.
And I think our generation is largely, and younger generations are realizing that's just a load of shit. It doesn't happen that way.
What kind of was the special sauce that you were able to kind of develop where you could get traction that wasn't in academia, but you're like, I have value, I think I have great intuition in this particular way of thinking? Like, what was that for you?
So I went the opposite approach. Rather than going into a deep specialty, which everyone said you need to have a niche, you need to have your specialty, I went the other direction. I became a generalist, and I embraced that. I skate on top of the tapestry of all of these different topics, and I look for patterns that connect them together. So out of that, I can see new opportunities emerge from one segment to another, and really, from that, I found opportunity to buy and sell something, or to start a service, a web service, which I had on radio, and I sold that. So, and also just the value of collecting good people. When you meet people and making sure you maintain those relationships. These are all the things that I learned over the years that were more valuable, I think, to me than memorizing a particular fact or math problem or something.
The Full Exposure Podcast is brought to you by Metro Health, University of Michigan Health, and Dr. Peter Hahn, in appreciation of the creative and artistic visionaries who enrich our lives through cultural connections.